Hello everyone. I'm super stoked to be sitting down with Ray today. Ray from Easy Riders. He has a great story with him. So, Ray, congrats on becoming Easy Riders' new publisher. Tell us a little bit about your professional background and how you seized this opportunity by becoming involved with Easy Riders.
Well, thank you again for this opportunity. To be honest, my background is from film or filmmaking, not movies, but film and photography and so on. Kodak going back from many years ago. But I've always had an interest in fields for archiving stuff, the ability to produce stuff that you don't want to see lost. And one of the biggest things that we've done over the years, GIT Corp, my company, is basically helped pioneer the digital market, the digital publishing industry. Back in 2003, we basically picked up a digital license from Marvel Entertainment to basically produce all their comic books in digital, like Spider-Man and stuff. Now, digital at the time, they couldn't even sell a single copy. They couldn't even give away a digital magazine because, people just didn't care for it. But what we learned is that if you took an archive, if you took a whole actual, like we did Spider-Man, it was all 60 years of Spider-Man from the first issue all the way up to 2003. So it was 550 issues. It was a $49 product. It's sold in every mass retailer in the country, from Apple stores to Walmart's, and they were very successful. And we just did license deals like Warner Brothers, Star Trek, Mad Magazine. I mean, the list just went on, and we were doing extremely well. So this was probably 7 years prior to the iPad. And what happened was, once the iPad came out, a lot of the publishers did not want to give us license deals anymore because, hey, we can do this ourselves. We can put it online and, we'll make all kinds of money. And unfortunately, they didn't allow us to do license deals anymore, but nobody made any money. As far as the actual publishers, they couldn't duplicate what we've done. We've been the only ones to actually produce something like that. And probably over the last maybe year or two, a lot of the publishers are starting to see that. I mean, it was a big stretch, probably 10 years of where they said, well, we're not going to give you a license deal anymore. And now everybody's got their hand out. Hey, Ray, what can we do now? So one of our first was Valiant Entertainment, which again was a comic book magazine. But at the time, we also did a deal with Sports Illustrated to do Sports Illustrated Swimsuit to do all their magazines, which was a 50-year run or so. And at the time, we got an opportunity, a call from the Sports Illustrated guys, say, hey, look, we have a friend who just bought Easy Rider magazine, and he would like to see if you guys want to do some licensing. Oh. And I knew it had a very long history, 50 plus years. So there was 554 issues over 50 years. And we basically did that as a digital collection. And when they started to have actual trouble with the actual publication, because they didn't publish for almost 2 years, they brought out 2 GQ style magazines from the new actual publishers at the time in 2019 and 2021. People weren't happy with the magazine. It was a GQ. It was just a 180-degree difference. So we spoke with the publisher and we were able to actually step in and get a license deal for, and bring it back to where we thought it would work. So okay. It's been tough because again, it's starting from scratch almost.
Right. And it sounds like you are a perfect fit for that with all of your experience. And I think you can really revive the magazine and the outlet back to what everyone loves it for. And because it has been considered the biker Bible for such a long time, and I'm going to play up on some religious metaphors right now, but what can readers expect from fresh beginnings with the New Testament, so to say, since you are coming into this magazine?
Okay, well, the first thing that we did was we brought back some of the great talent, which, like Dave Nichols, who was basically fired at the time when the new investors took over the publication, which Dave Nichols is a 25-year iconic, piece of furniture, which, made the magazine actually run. Probably their biggest mistake was to get rid of him. First thing I did was bring him back because, again, as much as I like the idea, I didn't know a lot about. I mean, I know a lot about publishing, not a lot about motorcycles and that industry. But I knew that it was a good opportunity. Well, first thing that we did was we basically brought it back to the old style format. What we did do was eliminate the nudity, which obviously Easy Riders was famously known for women breasts. Every publication had three or four actual two or three models that were topless on motorcycles. So being with such a more women that drive motorcycles, and not to offend people either, and also to get it into mass retail, because again, you just can't get certain stuff into like a Walmart and those type of mass retailers. So we did was we toned it down, got rid of the actual nudity. We basically only use one girl, which is a cover girl with a feature. Still 5 bike features. Still all the events are there. Mechanical type stuff. So it's still really a lot there of the old. And the first year, to tell you the truth, we just actually November will be 1 year of the publication. We produced 12, I think, great issues. And right now, that was really looking at it, seeing what we're doing, learning, and then the following year is really where you start to pick up and you start to move things around. But I think the first year was really getting a foot handle on it and making sure that the actual community loved what you were producing. And we've got nothing but raves. And to tell you the truth, funny story is that I actually was able to get the actual license deal in July, probably somewhere mid to end of July. And Sturgis was like August 3rd or August 4th in 2021. And I got on a plane. We rented the original house, partially that Easy Riders had been rented for the last 25 years, and was down there. And if I tell you the welcome for the magazine coming back to its original, it was just overwhelming. I was only the publisher for 2 weeks.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that sounds like a very great progression and a great start. I mean, you've been doing this now for a little while, and I think, it's, as you said, it's fitting well. So I think a lot of people can really appreciate that. And you touched a little bit before that you are not into riding, but I'm sure you're learning so much being a part of this community now. And what draws you the most to work in the motorcycle industry? And what have you learned from the people? What do you like best about it?
To tell you the truth, I've always loved old things. I love old cars. I love old architecture. Probably my favorite. I actually went to school for architecture and changed, into a film line back. But always loved the architecture and old stuff. They just don't build like they used to. And no matter what you look at today, I don't care how much technology there is, they just don't build quality that, you can go back 100 years and just, look at a house, the way it stands, the molding, the way it was built, it's not the same. Same thing with the motorcycles. And I get that industry, I look at an industry that's been around for a long time. And I think what got me is that one of the biggest issues there is that I guess they were always it's the way the industry was perceived. They never got a fair shake on what they did. You had you go back to the 60s and the 70s and the Hells Angels, but all of that is gone. These are great people, bike builders. I'll tell you, I've never seen so much talent. I mean, and passion for something. That's something that really I've seen early on that really made me feel good and knew that I was in the right direction. And just amazing people.
Good. Good. Well, I'm glad you're able to see the true colors of it all and just immerse yourself as much as possible because it truly is a great community to be a part of. And now that you are involved with it and have been for the past year now, are you considering getting into riding? And if so, what kind of bike are you into?
I probably won't, only because I've done some riding, when I was very young, and everything from mini bikes to smaller, I don't know what you probably call them back then. Now they're probably motocross, but it's whatever they were called back then, a much smaller bike. But took a lot of bruises, a lot of bumps, and seen a few friends that I knew get killed by bikes. Again, no helmets, no nothing. That was back then. So it's not appealing. I can see the passion. I can respect it all, but probably not. If I did, I would probably. I like the Indian bikes. I like they're just a nice small, a nice compact bike. I'm not too big on such big bikes. It's not that it's not a matter of brand. It's just a matter you take a Harley or a Bagger, and these bikes are just humongous.
Right.
Where I just happen to like a smaller, like an Indian bike, and it's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Okay, well, I hope one day you'll be able to maybe think about it and just see what we're all ranting and raving about, really.
Would you teach me?
Yeah,
If
I'm
you teach me, I probably would be game.
yeah, let's do it. We'll set something up.
Okay, I can do that.
So, with all that said, what is one person or who is one person that you would love to be featured in the magazine and why?
I tell you, there's somebody that just came to mind, and I actually just reached out. I don't know if I'll hear back from him or not, because I was watching a bunch of old. I'm not a big TV fan. I don't really watch shows and stuff like that. But I was watching because there was nothing else on. I was watching some of the American Pickers,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I love Mike Wolf. He's just so passionate about what he does as far as picking, but loves motorcycles, loves that brand, loves the knucklehead, no, just loves Harley. That's the type of person I can see. I would love to have and do an interview with him, sit down with him and go, hey, look, I mean, that's somebody, that has the love and the passion for it, and get inside his head and just see what makes him tick, and what does he love about it so much. Because it's a combination of him picking, all the old stuff as well as the motorcycles itself, and and bikes and stuff like that. So probably him.
Okay,
Let's see.
I think that's a good choice, and I've watched that show a few times and have seen the episodes where he is going out and looking for bikes, and it's always those great old finds that people just want to get their hands on. And it leads me to my next question, because I had seen on the website now that you're in charge of a lot of things, that you guys want to maintain the 70s and 80s biker culture and in the magazine. And I want to ask, why is that so important for you guys to keep that culture alive within the magazine?
Well, I think probably the biggest reason is to try and branch the old generation with the new generation. Because the biggest problem that I think that I see, again, looking from the outside in, is that you have this generation of you look at Surges and stuff, and your average person is a 51-year-old male.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. When you look at the bikes and you go, okay, you look at registrations and you look at people that buy bikes. It's probably now 55-year-old male.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at motocross and you've got 20, 25-year-olds, and it's just separated. But it's a bike. It's a motorcycle. There's got to be a way of bridging it. And I think that's the importance of basically being able to hold on to the 70s and 80s to show the younger generation, hey, look, here's what you have. Here's what we see. Here's, it's got to be a way of joining those two, because, we've worked with Rye TV. They're basically a production company and broadcast. They do all type of live streaming. and they do all the big events and they're all motocross. They do roughly, I think he said they do about maybe 200 events a year, which
Okay.
is a huge amount of events. And we basically did we partnered with them to do Sturgis. So Sturgis was an actual 10-day live event, video shot each day of Sturgis. And it was amazing that the bulk of the people that watched it were all motocross, mostly coming from their side, as opposed to, let's say, the Buffalo Chip or Sturgis or that age group. It was a much younger group that wanted to see that for 10 days and paid for that.
Interesting.
So
Hmm. Okay.
it was pretty. That's the thing. I think we just got a way of just merging the two, because again, the demographics aren't there. They just keep getting older.
Yes, I think that's a really great transition then, or just new perspective to bring to the magazine, to just get everyone involved, because at the end of the day, it's all bringing us together. So that's a really great perspective, and I love that culture, the 70s and 80s culture, is living on, and a lot of people really like that style, and I'm really happy to hear that. And with these new people coming together, or you're bringing together, what is the one surprising thing you've learned about the motorcycle community since working with the magazine?
I would basically have to say is how talented and how passionate they are about what they do.
Right.
It's not about money. It's about, and a lot of it is also about family, where you see them with the next generation of bikers and younger kids. And we just did a shoot. Okay, somebody mailed something in. It came into support. This woman has a 4-year-old baby girl. She her loves her grandfather to death. Okay, so when her grandfather is a Harley Davidson guy through and through, he's got a few bikes, and his wife rides also. When she is in when he is in the shed actually working on the bikes, this little girl is right beside him, changing oil, greasy. It doesn't matter, as long as Papa's there, she's there. And she sent me these photos. It's probably the most. She called her she just turned 4 in August. She's a 4-year-old badass Harley Davidson girl.
I love
And it is the most beautiful. She's all in black leather. She's got the glasses on. She's got the attitude. Just a great piece. And we actually did a shoot. We had photos, but we actually did a full shoot, and we're gonna be doing a feature on her, because, and like we told Holly, the important thing is to get the younger generation involved at that age. That's the bottom line. You want them to learn. There it is. They're young, and they're like sponges. They just absorb whatever's there.
No, I love that story so much. And it kind of reminds me of myself, because my dad got us into racing motorcycles or motocross, and then it just transitioned to the road. So hearing stories like that is very wholesome and just awesome, and what the whole community is about. And you guys are doing a great job of highlighting that. And so many people appreciate that. I know I said that earlier. And to tie on to kind of what you were saying before, if someone is interested in being featured with you guys, what types of stories and people are you looking for, or really, really want to look for and take on for a feature?
I think obviously people with passion, people that like change, people that are really looking to help the industry too, help it grow, have stories again, like what we've done with Russ Brown. Russ Brown's, they're biker heroes. I mean, they're just incredible stories about incredible people. The first one being Kylie Garcia. No, Kylie Garcia, she was our first December issue model. Okay. And I had no idea, where to find somebody. I was doing a bunch of, I was on the web looking at different sites, and I came across a site, and I'm flashing through lots of girls, and I just see her and I go, that's the girl. She's the one. I basically I just have an email address. There's no phone number, no nothing. So I basically send it. Probably the next day I get an email back from her, that her boyfriend is a biker builder.
Mhm.
She builds also. She actually builds, and her boyfriend said that if Michael Vick is going to shoot you, you got to be crazy not to do it, and blah blah blah. Long story short, she calls me back. We're talking for about a half hour that we're gonna use it for the shoot, and she says, I just have something to say. I hope this is not a deal breaker, but I have a brain tumor, and I use a catheter that basically runs on my arm as a way of covering that up. I said, sure, we can do that. The point is, such a strong person. I mean, she didn't even blink. If you talk to her, she was the most happiest person that you wanted to talk to. And the story goes is that after about a month or so, she finds out, her sister actually finds out, somebody, because it was an inoperable brain tumor, nobody wanted to actually to operate. And her sister's at some kind of convention, and she meets up with a doctor. He's like the #2 neurosurgeon in the world from Spain. And he basically goes, I'd like to sit down with her. And he basically took the actual case. He said, I will do it. And he was originally going to do it here in the United States, but because of all the red tape, she had to actually fly to Spain. They operated on it. They operated on her. It was successful. That night, she was up and talking. 2 days later, she was out of the hospital. And right now she's doing runway. I mean, just an amazing story. Since May to now, she's doing runway. She sounds great, looks great. That's the type of the strength on certain people, just with their faith and everything. I mean, she's very she's godly faith and her family that's all behind her, and just that kind of story. You just want to get out there because it gets people going. It's motivation to be better.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and definitely people like that are certainly deserving to be just get the spotlight on them and just to inspire people. So I really like that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more inspiring stories coming out of Easy Riders, especially since you're there and you're taking the reins on things. And to end off, I would love to know, and also the readers and the people watching this, how can we stay up to date with what you're doing at Easy Riders?
Okay. Well, again, best thing is to get a subscription. Go to our website, classiceasyriders.com.
Yeah.
But also, our social media. We have, Facebook. We have Instagram. Again, there wasn't a lot going on the first year because, again, the events are starting to come back. Those are separate from the original owner. They just did 2 events. But we're working on a bunch of different things. I like a lot of opportunity. Some of it is even possibly, again, it's just thrown out there to, possibly even a reality show for bike builders. I mean, bringing something like that back. There is nothing out there right now. When you look, there is no more shows. There's 100 car shows, not one single bike show. For motorcycles. So I don't know. That's something that we would look at. There's the ability of whatever we can do, the events. I guess it depends on what we're allowed to do based on what we can do.
Yep.
Because most of our stuff is licensed, the ability to do what we can do. So I guess it'll all depend on what level and how far we can go with different things. But sky's the limit if we can.
Perfect. Well, I love that perspective, and I love what's in stock for Easy Riders. And thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me today. And like I said, I'm excited to see where this is going. And I love that you're keeping the 70s and 80s bike culture back, or bringing it back and maintaining it. And everyone's going to appreciate that. So thank you again for sitting down and chatting with me.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And also, don't forget, lessons. I need lessons. So.
Yeah, definitely. I've taught many people, so let's
Okay.
add that added to the list.
So you're good. Okay. Well, at least they know. When I start, looking for a resume, at least they know that you've taught before. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ray. And take care.
You too now. Bye.
Thank you.